Most concrete companies who've tried Facebook ads walk away thinking the platform just doesn't work for this industry. They've spent the money, maybe got a few leads, but none of it turned into real work. And I understand why that's frustrating. But the problem usually isn't Facebook ads. The problem is that there are two halves to making them work for a concrete business, and most guys are only getting one of them right, if that. The first half is the ad itself, like what you're running, who you're targeting, and what you're offering homeowners. The second half is what happens after a lead comes in, and this is where most of the money gets lost. In this video, I'm gonna walk you through both: how to build Facebook ads that actually attract the right people for your concrete business, and the follow-up system that turns those leads into jobs on your schedule. Let's start with the first half, the ad itself. Because if this part is wrong, it doesn't matter how good your follow-up system is, you're just paying Facebook to show the wrong thing to the wrong people. Here's something I noticed pretty quickly when I look at Facebook ads from concrete companies. I can usually tell within the first few seconds whether that ad is gonna generate leads or just burn through budget. And it comes down to one decision that most guys get wrong before they even write a single word of ad copy. Most guys running a concrete business, when they set up a Facebook ad for the first time, they grab a photo from their camera roll of a finished driveway, maybe throw some text on it like "quality concrete work, call today," and they put some money behind it. And that ad lands in somebody's feed between a video of their kid's soccer game and a recipe their wife shared, and they just scroll right past it. Because there's nothing about a still photo with text on it that makes a homeowner stop what they're doing and pay attention. So the question becomes, what does make someone stop scrolling? It's movement, it's something real happening that catches their eye. And this is where guys in the concrete business have a massive advantage that most of them don't realize they're sitting on. You're already creating the most compelling content imaginable, you're just not using it. A time lapse of a pour going down, a before and after of a driveway you tore out and replaced, your crew refinishing a stamped patio while the homeowner watches from the back porch. That kind of real footage from your actual job sites outperforms a static image, and it's not even close, because people can see the quality of your work. They can see you have a real crew out there, and it builds trust before they ever pick up the phone. You don't need to hire a production company for this. You just need to start hitting record on the jobs you're already doing every day. So now you've got something that actually stops the scroll, real video from your jobs showing what you can do. But even the best footage in the world won't do much for your business if it's being shown to the wrong people. And this is where I see a lot of concrete companies quietly burn through their ad budget without really understanding why. There's a specific sweet spot with Facebook targeting for residential concrete, and most guys miss it, not because they're dumb, but because it's genuinely confusing if nobody's ever shown you what to do. And the direction you miss it in determines what kind of problem you end up with. If you go too broad, meaning you're showing your ad to everyone in a 50-mile radius and just hoping the right person sees it, you end up paying for a ton of impressions from people who rent apartments, people who live an hour outside your service area, people who have zero interest in concrete work. Your cost per lead climbs, and the leads you do get are mostly junk. But if you go too narrow and you've stacked so many filters and interests that Facebook's audience shrinks down to almost nothing, now the platform can barely find anyone to show your ad to, and your costs spike for a completely different reason. And you're sitting there wondering why you spent $300 and only got 2 leads. What actually works for most residential concrete companies is simpler than you'd expect. You want homeowners, not renters, within your real service area, usually 15 to 30 miles depending on your market. You want to filter by age, 30 and up, because that's who's actually making decisions about their property. And depending on your market, you might layer in home improvement interests or specific zip codes too. The goal isn't to reach as many people as possible, it's to put your ad in front of the right people, serious buyers who are likely to need concrete work and can actually afford to pay for it. All right, so now you've got real video from your job sites and you're putting it in front of the right audience in your area, which already puts you ahead of most concrete companies running Facebook ads. But there's a third piece to the ad itself that a lot of guys overlook, and this one might be the most important because it doesn't just affect whether you get leads, it determines what kind of leads you get back. If you've ever run a Facebook ad, gotten some leads back, and then none of them turn into real work, they ghosted you, they were just price shopping, they wasted your estimator's time driving out to a quote that was never going to close, there's a very specific reason that happened. And it usually has nothing to do with the video or the targeting. It has to do with what you put in front of them as an offer. Most guys running concrete companies put up an ad that says something like free estimate or call now for a quote. And that seems reasonable because you're a concrete company. You do estimates and you want people to call. But the problem is that every single one of your competitors is saying the exact same thing. So there's nothing that separates you from the next guy. And when the only thing you're offering is a free estimate, think about who actually responds to that. It's people who are collecting 5 quotes and planning to go with whoever's cheapest. Now compare that to an ad where you're offering something with real perceived value, not a discount, but something that actually positions your company differently from everyone else in the market. For example, an extended warranty on your work, not just we stand behind our jobs, but a specific named guarantee, a 5-year structural warranty on all flat work, something a homeowner can point to and say this company is confident enough in their work to put that in writing, or a free on-site design consultation with a stated value, like book a free design consultation, $500 value. That completely reframes the conversation because you're no longer competing on who can give the lowest price. You're the company that's offering something nobody else is. And the people who respond to that kind of offer are fundamentally different from the ones chasing the cheapest quote. They care about quality, they're serious about the project, and those are the jobs you actually want filling up your schedule. So that's the first half, the ad itself, the right creative in front of the right audience with an offer that attracts quality leads instead of price shoppers. And if you get those 3 pieces dialed in, you will start getting leads from Facebook. But here's where most guys in concrete hit a wall. And honestly, this is the part that almost nobody talks about. Because what happens in the first 5 minutes after a lead comes in matters more than everything we just covered. And if you don't have a system for that part, you're gonna watch those leads go cold and wonder why the ads aren't working. So here's something that happens all the time, and I want you to think about whether this sounds familiar. You ran some Facebook ads, leads came in, you called them back and nothing happened. They didn't answer, or they'd already gone with someone else, or they acted like they had no idea what you were talking about. And you walked away thinking the leads were garbage. But what if the leads were fine and the problem was something you weren't even thinking about? Picture what's happening on the homeowner's end. They're sitting on a couch on a Tuesday night, scrolling Facebook, and they see your ad for a new driveway. They're interested, they fill out the form, and right in that moment, they're as motivated as they're ever gonna be. But what happens next? You're on a job site the next morning, you're busy, you see the notification at lunch, maybe you call them back around 3 or 4 in the afternoon. That's like 18 hours later. And in that 18 hours, that homeowner has already called 2 or 3 other concrete companies, and whoever got back to them first is the one who got the conversation. By the time you call, they've either already booked someone or they've completely cooled off and moved on with their day. The reality is the window on a Facebook lead is minutes, not hours. If you're telling yourself, I'll call them back later today, or I'll get to it after this pour, you've already lost most of those leads before you ever had a chance. The guys who are actually turning Facebook ads into real work are getting back to people within minutes of that form being submitted, not the next morning, not after lunch, but minutes. And that single change, just the speed of your response, will do more for your close rate than anything you could ever tweak inside the ad itself. But here's where it gets real, because even if you're fast on that first call, a lot of those people aren't going to pick up. And what you do next is the difference between making money on Facebook ads and convincing yourself that they didn't work. Think about what happens when you call a lead and they don't answer. For most guys running a concrete business, that's pretty much the end of it. Maybe they try one more time the next day, but if that doesn't connect either, they move on and write it off as a bad lead. And the thing is, you paid for that lead, whether it was $5 or $50, that was real money. So the question is, was that actually a bad lead, or did you just give up too early? Here's what's probably happening on their end. They filled out your form at 8 o'clock at night, you called them back at 8:05, which is great, but they're putting their kids to bed. Or they submitted it on their lunch break at work, and by the time you called, they were back on the clock and couldn't pick up. It doesn't mean they're not interested, it means they're busy. The same way you're busy when someone calls you in the middle of a pour and you don't answer. But if you call once, don't get them, and never follow up again, you've essentially taken that money you spent on the ad and thrown it in the trash. And this is what most guys do without realizing it over and over again. And then they say Facebook ads don't generate real work. What you need is a system that follows up for you automatically without you having to remember or think about it. A CRM that texts them automatically when the lead comes in, follows up a couple hours later if they don't respond, and keeps reaching out over the next few days with texts, emails, and calls. All of this happening in the background while you're on the job site pouring and running your crew. Because the truth is, most of those leads aren't dead, they just need to be followed up with more than once. And the guys who have this kind of automated system in place are closing jobs from the same leads that everyone else is throwing away. So now you're responding fast, and you've got a system following up consistently until people actually get back to you. Leads are turning into real conversations now, which is exactly what you want. But there's one more piece to this, and if you skip it, you're gonna run into a problem that every concrete company owner knows all too well. You're gonna start driving to estimates that were never gonna close in the first place. And there's nothing worse than loading up your truck, driving 30 or 40 minutes to a quote, and realizing within the first 2 minutes of talking to this homeowner that they were never gonna hire you. And if you've run ads before, you've probably had this happen more than once. where you show up and it's immediately obvious that this person either can't afford the work or has completely unrealistic expectations about what it costs. Maybe it's the homeowner who wants a 1,200 square foot stamped patio and thinks it should cost $3,000. Maybe it's someone who's not even ready to start the project until next year and is just shopping around early. Maybe they got quotes from 2 other companies already and they're just looking for a number to beat. Whatever the situation is, your estimator just burned an hour on someone who was never a real opportunity. And when that happens 3 or 4 times a week, it doesn't just waste time, it kills morale. Your estimator starts resenting the leads, you start resenting the ad spend, and the whole thing feels like it's not working, even though the leads themselves might have been perfectly fine. The fix for this is simple and it costs you nothing. A 10-minute phone call before you ever send someone out to the job site. You get the homeowner on the phone, you ask about their project, you ask about their timeline, and you get a feel for whether their expectations are in the right ballpark for what this kind of work actually costs. That one conversation filters out the tire kickers and the price shoppers before your estimator ever gets in the truck. And it means the estimates you do go on are with serious buyers who understand what they're getting into, which means your close rate goes through the roof compared to just blindly driving to every single lead that comes in. Here's what this looks like when both halves are actually working together. You've got a Facebook ad running with real video from your jobs, targeted at the right audience in your area with an offer that attracts people who care about quality, not just the lowest price. Leads start coming in, and instead of sitting in your notifications for 18 hours, they're getting a response within minutes, either from you, from your office manager, or from an automated text that goes out the second they submit that form. The ones who don't pick up aren't getting written off. They're getting followed up with over the next few days automatically until they actually respond. And the ones who do respond are getting a quick phone call to make sure they're a real opportunity before your estimator ever gets in the truck. That's not some complicated marketing system that takes a team of people to manage. That's 6 things: the right video, the right audience, a strong offer, fast response, automated follow-up, and a qualification call. And when those 6 pieces are in place, the same platform that you thought didn't work for concrete starts filling your schedule with serious buyers who actually want to hire you and are willing to pay you for quality work. Now, every concrete business is a little different. Your market, your service area, what you're already running, what you're not. And the way you set these 6 pieces up is gonna look different depending on your situation. If you want help figuring out exactly what that looks like for your business, in the description, you can book a free strategy call with our team where we'll map out the entire thing for you.